Welcome to United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America on WSGW. Now, here is your host, Kareem Bowen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. If you are anywhere in the Midwest and you're listening to this conversation, then you know that we have finally entered in. You're a cold weather fan.
Sweatshirts, big coats.
I mean, you can always wear cold weather, sweatshirts and big coats in the summer if you'd like.
You'll just be sweating and miserable.
Oh my gosh. So what is the infatuation that you have with all of this cold weather?
I don't know. I like it.
Why do you like warm weather?
Ski?
I like warm weather because you can go to the beach. I like warm weather because you can lay out, hang outside. You can jump in the pool.
I like cold weather because it gives you an excuse to stay inside, read a book, play video games, do nothing.
So that's the best you got.
That is the best I've gotten. It sounds like a fantastic day to me.
Well, if you are here in Michigan, this day has started out really, 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 really crazy. The weather is now entering into that pattern. That crazy pattern that we get between not quite fall, because now fall and spring are really just 2 days of the year for us. We don't get real fall seasons and real spring seasons.
We had a pretty good fall here.
Oh, yeah, we did. We had a whole 2 weeks when it wasn't raining. You're right. A whole
Rain
2 weeks
is part of it.
I guess, but I tend to like to go up and see the fall colors. I was able to sneak in one good day to be able to do that this year, and it was absolutely gorgeous. If you live in places where they have 4 seasons and fall is one of them, it is absolutely amazing. And here in Michigan, the entire Midwest, actually, I actually drove out of state. It's absolutely gorgeous. Everywhere fall has taken a niche, but I've been seeing that white stuff come down. I want to bring in someone who is he is such a lover of all of this white stuff and everything that is cold. As a matter of fact, in speaking with him before we started the show, he was telling me he was on the beach. So let's bring into the studio Mark Bassett. He is making
an appearance after an extended.
He is making his return appearance.
It's good to have you. Forget how to do this. So.
Good to have you, Mark. Many places in the area where we are here have lost power.
Wow.
It's a crazy phenomenon, but that's what's taking place. Mark, what is going on? Give us an update of what you have been up to over the past. Was it been 3 months, 4 months?
Since we flew out to Corona del Mar or Newport Beach, California, Southern California, about halfway in between LA and San Diego. We've been out here since August 31st, returning on Saturday. I was out here consulting with the company I'm on the board of, the agricultural chemical company I'm on the board of, helping them develop a transformation plan, which they're announcing this morning or this afternoon. And headed back this Saturday. Have been enjoying Southern California though. Have absolutely loved it. Gone to the beach, gotten to body surf. We went to Death Valley, which was really, really cool. So,
what was the thing about Death Valley that you enjoyed most? I've been there. What did you enjoy most, Mark?
It's just the vastness of it and just the very unusual geography. I mean, you're at the lowest point in the U.S., 282 feet below sea level, surrounded by mountains that go 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 feet high, and just huge, hundreds of miles of just flat salt flats, just incredible terrain, just really otherworldly kind of.
So Mark, you've been back on the West Coast, and we know that you're on the West Coast. You're from the West Coast, not the California West Coast, but the Hawaii West Coast.
Yes.
What have you been hearing about your homeland after everything that's taken place with the fires and everything? What's happening out there? Other than Oprah and the Rock trying to raise money,
obviously
from poor people to help out their plan to take over Hawaii, but what's going on in Hawaii?
Really too much. I mean, I haven't followed it closely. I mean, that was on Maui. I grew up, which is a different island that I grew up on. I think things are kind of largely back to normal for the most part. Tourism has restarted, complaining about tourists, which is typical. Ultimately Hawaii is an interesting state. It's a beautiful state. but they have a love-hate relationship with tourism, which I totally understand. It's the biggest form of income in the state, but there is definitely an issue with over-tourism. So they've got to try to find ways to find the right balance.
Yeah, I hear they're acting like those European countries. They don't like Americans. No, I'm just joking.
They're all Americans out there, Kareem. So they don't appreciate not being considered a 50th state.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. But we're certainly glad to have you back. We have, I think, a very interesting show, and I don't want to waste an entire time talking to the good looks of Mark Bassett, but we're glad to have you back in the studio, Mark. But I want to bring in to the conversation a young lady that I had a great opportunity to meet. We were actually connected through a state representative, Representative Amos O'Neill, who has literally been all over the state working. And he brought us together, I think, with the idea that we were going to be doing something specifically as it relates to science and technology, seeing that I'm working with the students with Dow Treasure Academy, and we're doing STEM and leadership. And through that relationship, as we began to get together and we began to talk, I recognized that there was a lot more that was going here. And so we're going to bring into the stream Takesha Lee. Takesha, welcome to United Shades of Gray. How are you?
Good evening. I'm awesome. How are you?
I am doing amazing.
Great.
For those of you who are out there, she is becoming very fast. John, you're being replaced. You and Mark are being replaced as my new best friend. We met several months ago. I had an opportunity. She's out of Detroit, and is the founder and CEO of a company called Diverse Note Mobility. And I got down to Detroit and I saw what they were doing, and I fell in love. And I said, this is what we need up the river a little bit in the Michigan Bay region. And I know that they operate both here. They're going to be operating here, but they also have a connection to Chicago and to the Illinois market as well. So welcome Takesha Lee of Diverse Note Mobility. Why don't you just share and say hello to our wonderful audience?
Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to speak with United Shades of Gray with Kareem Bowen and the audience, and excited to share more about Diverse Note Mobility with you as well.
All right. So, Mark, I'll tell you what, we were actually speaking after we got together. One of the first places that we took a conversation with and we began to communicate with was your old employer. We met with Brooke Beebe over at Hemlock Semiconductor, and we were kind of sharing with them some of the things that we have going on. Before we get into all of what we're doing and what's getting ready to happen, Takesha, why don't you begin just by sharing a little bit about what is Diverse Note Mobility? And then I'll share why I thought that you were so important to be in the part of the Michigan Bay region, the Great Lakes Bay region.
Absolutely. So Diverse Note Mobility is an accelerated STEM career training institution. So we are a post-secondary academic institution that provides accelerated STEM career training, credentials, employment opportunities, and college credits in tow with our partners. And our mission and our goal is to increase access to career and economic mobility. With that, we created our accelerated academic and career training model. We serve the entire state we are national, so we serve every state in the United States, but we also serve the entire state of Michigan, as well as Illinois, including Chicago and the metro area as well.
Do students get a certification in something?
They do.
I mean,
that's right.
Okay, what kind of skilled, is it skilled trades focused, or where's the focus kind of, and what kind of certifications do they get?
So there's a range. Any career or industry that touches science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, we have academic programming in it. So some examples are cybersecurity, data analytics, electric vehicle systems. We have some electrical technician programs. Those are just some of the examples, but we have a host of many programs. But all of we call our students learners. So all of our learners, they receive credentials, a certificate of graduation, as well as a credential from an industry recognized credential provider. And some of our partners in that area are Cisco, CompTIA, SAE International, and a host of others. In addition to that, we also partner with a little over 40 college and university partners that provide our graduates college credits. So up to 2 years of college credits, as well as scholarships to make the pursuit of a degree more as well. All of our programs are for those who have economic barriers or and so on. There's zero tuition. We have partners that pay that tuition. And so that's one of the most exciting things in reference to our mission, which is, again, to increase career and economic mobility.
And is it all virtual? Is it virtual training?
We have 3 options. Virtual, yes. So every single program we offer is virtual. We also have in-person programs, but those in-person programs are only in Michigan. And we have hybrid programs, which are in-person and virtual in Michigan, but all over the rest of the United States and in some international markets as well. We also provide programming in Germany and Japan, but those are all online.
You know, Mark, it's interesting that we're having this conversation, and I'm like sitting here like Mark has just jumped back in, and I'm gonna take it over to be able to say something. But I shared with Takesha before we got on. I'm like, based upon your experience, Mark and I, just to give some understanding of how we connected, we were actually doing some things while he was yet the CEO over at Hemlock Semiconductor, and he was really a big proponent of providing access and removing barriers to STEM-related places. So Hemlock being one of the world's leaders in the purest polysilicon that it's created in the world, the leader in the U.S., he was very intentional and key in making things happen and creating internship opportunities and summer camps and things of that nature. And now that he's out in the world saving, with the S in his chest, and he's saving the world and turning companies around, I know that creating a workforce that is accessible to all, that is diverse, is something that was very important. I said, Mark is going to be really excited about this conversation. He's going to have a lot to say. So,
Awesome.
Mark, I'm glad to have you as a part of this. I want to share really quick, if I could. I just pulled a few of the of your curricula, some of your offerings that you guys have in terms of your academic programs. We're talking intermediate cybersecurity, enterprise cybersecurity, introduction to data analytics, introduction to internet, and of things, the internet of things to internet of things, introduction to networking, programming, intermediate programming, enterprise programming, electrical technician, welding, electric vehicle systems, auto technician, entrepreneurship, customer service, hospitality management, digital literacy. And this is not an exhaustive list of what you all were doing. Now, I do want to say why I think this conversation is so vitally important. To Keisha and I, initially, when we were talking, we were thinking, hey, we're going to do some partnerships that are centered around technology. And as we begin to talk, one of my big issues, and Mark, we've had this conversation as well to some degree because we have, some of the same people groups. And we were talking about the emerging of this new industry here in the Michigan Bay region. And we've seen in cities across the country this concept of gentrification, where we're developing cities and communities. And I am a proponent of growth. I'm a proponent that, we got to do something different and bring in new people groups and new technologies and industries, which also mean that there's probably going to be a new industry that's coming in that our people are not connected to. And being a person who loves growing, and I want our city to be a cool city. I think Saginaw is a cool city. I love Chicago and other places, but home is always a great place to be. And seeing what's happening with what we're looking at, the medical diamond that's being launched. We're looking at new technologies such as, electric batteries and those things coming. With those types of things, they're great jobs and opportunities that are coming. But
we've got local manufacturers expanding as well. SK Siltron, Hemlock.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get me right, Mark. Make sure you get all of that in there, because Hemlock is doing a great job with bringing elements that are probably more consistent with what our community is used to with
Mhm.
some of those manufacturing jobs that people said they're never going to come back to the US, and they're coming. But it's interesting that these new jobs and these new opportunities, even with some of the things that you guys are doing, that Hemlock is doing with the silicon pipeline, these things require a different training. They require different skill sets. We're not, pushing buttons on machines like we were doing with General Motors back in the day, so to speak. But they require a different skill set, a different learning tools. And how do we bring in these new opportunities and not disenfranchise the population that we currently have that is often responsible, whatever it is, for the grants and the dollars and the government incentives for bringing them in. And so that became a part of the conversation. John, you have something you're going to say?
It is part of the conversation, and as someone who's been following this in the news cycle of
In the
things,
news.
Our local education institutions have been doing a fantastic job of beefing up their programs for this kind of
Absolutely.
thing to support that talent pipeline, and that's a big part of keeping that talent grown here and keep them working here. But I think that programs like this are certainly not unwelcome to supplement that.
So Takesha, why don't you share a little bit about how Diverse Note Mobility, their partnerships with educational institutions, how it is really a match made in heaven?
Yes. So our programs, we are like our college and university partners. Diverse No Mobility is also a post-secondary education institution, and so we provide the accelerated programs. They're accelerated, which means they're 4 months or less, no more than 4-month programs that get our learners that will soon to be graduates to employment opportunities in those high growth industries and fields that we provide the academic and career programs in. In partnership, we work with our college and university partners. To date, we have a little over 40 of those, many in Michigan and in other states as well. But those university partners that we have work with us to make the pursuit of a degree more accessible as well. So they provide up to 2 years of college credits for our accelerated programs. In addition, they provide college scholarships as well. And then Diverse Note Mobility staff comes along with that Diverse Note Mobility graduate and increases the outcomes for graduation rates. And we do that through a technology that we created to track career mobility. So we assist with increasing graduation rates of those that are pursuing degrees and career placement rates and things like that as learners move on. When they leave Diverse No Mobility, there's 2 options. They can either go or both. They can either go directly into a career, that high growth career, those high paying careers and jobs, and or they can transfer to one of those university partners and continue their higher education.
Do you have any
John-
university partners in the mid-Michigan area, or who are they in Michigan? Kind of a handful.
Yes. So in Michigan, our partners include Lawrence Tech University. We work with many community colleges. Wayne County Community College District. I'm missing some. Macomb Community College are some of the examples. And then we work with some national universities as well. National University is one of those that's they provide many of their programs online, but they are national as well.
So it sounds like to me, and I think that this is when you first started, I'm like, okay, is it just to kind of get people into the workforce? Is it a very basic level certification? Are there certifications that
Yes.
can be earned through that? That's fantastic.
Yep.
But I think I'm glad that you kind of answered the question I was going to ask, which is the support to grow that education and move on. I think it's great that institutions are getting involved and there's college credit available for this kind of thing, even if it is an accelerated thing or an accelerated certification. It gets people into the workforce and sets them on the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. So it prepares people again that focus on career mobility. So it's we meet you where you are. If you have no experience in your industry of interest, you are in an intro. You would enter one of our intro or early career programs. Those are our intro programs. And we meet you where you are and to get you prepared for those high growth industries. And then also to help you and continue that education if it's with an employer or with a university or college partner, and then help you track your own career mobility so that you know what are next steps to grow that career mobility as you grow within those companies that you are working for and that we are also partner with.
My initial thought was when we were talking is that this would be great. I was looking and talking with school administrators, from principals to counselors and things. And what we were realizing, which is the case across the country as it relates to our public schools, that our public schools are severely underfunded for some of the things that need to get done, but they also are lacking real abilities to challenge kids to go into certain career paths. Students are less inclined. Our graduation numbers are not what anyone would desire. And so we are turning over a group of kids to essentially communities that don't have necessarily a career plan or path. And we can have as many instructors in the school and many career advisors as we'd want. But if, that is not followed through in situations and communities where they come from, it really doesn't have a huge impact. So kids are being returned out to communities with no real pathway to suitable employment or long-term employment. How do we deal with those issues? How do we get them involved with the way that they can actually be, real contributors to a community and sustain and take care of themselves? And so initially I thought this is going to be great for high school students. But as we continued and we were talking about your population, and I want you to address really quickly, Takesha, a little bit about the population that you're targeting. We got about 2 minutes. So if you could share with us about that population.
Yes. So that our population starts with high school students all the way to adults that are 200 years old. So you're not ever too old. But we have high school programs. We take a pre-apprenticeship model, and we have a segment of our programs that we bring to high school or public school districts to introduce industries that they may not have exposure or have experience with. So that they can make a decision on, what they would like to pursue in the near future. So again, that could be electric vehicles, that could be artificial intelligence, that could be data analytics. But we start at the high school age, and then so those are our pre-apprenticeship model programs, and then we go into our accelerated programs, which are those 4-month or less high growth industry programs.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about the COVID loss. And so what we're going to do is when we come back from this commercial break, I want to take a couple seconds to really take a look and is the idea, what we know it's true, that students during the period of COVID, that there was sometimes in some places 2 and sometimes 3 grade levels that were lost during that period of time, that we were locked out of schools and not having education. How are we going to make up for those shortfalls is one of the questions that I want to ask. And Mark, I want to ask you, as a former person responsible for hiring and getting people into the workplace, what is your initial thought about what we're talking about, training and retooling and certifying people on an accelerated rate? Is this something that we need to really look into? We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with more of United Shades of Gray.
You're listening to United Shades of Gray on WSGW.
This is Kareem, and we're back with more United Shades of Gray, Conversations of Race in America. I have in the studio with me, finally, Mark Bassett, my co-man, my man, my home man, my co-producer, my co-anchor, my co-star of the show. Mark, welcome back.
Good to be back. I'm the white sidekick, the white shadow.
The white sidekick. Instead of Dark Shadow, like a show that used to come on TV way back in the day, he's White Shadow.
There was a TV show, I think, White Shadow.
White Shadow, there was. There absolutely was. I stand corrected.
I'm the white shadow, man.
But we have in the social media stream Takesha Lee. That is not the other beautiful light-skinned individual that you see. That's our producer, John B. The place to be. But we have Takesha Lee from Diverse Note Mobility. And before the break, I posed a question to you, Takesha, regarding COVID loss. As you guys are really pushing folks to be retooled and retrained and educated, how impactful has the loss due to COVID been to the model that you're trying to implement in place for access to opportunities and employment?
Yeah, over at here at Diverse Mobility, we believe our model is very impactful, and that we have programming that has been designed to touch exactly just that particular loss of education and opportunity that happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we created programming like dual enrollment programs, where you can be in high school and receive or enroll in diverse mobility programs, GED programming, English as a second language programs, very in-depth tutoring programming as well. And so I mentioned a little earlier during the first segment that we meet learners where they are. And we do exactly just that. The minimum education requirement to enter one of our early career programs or our intro programs is at minimum a 5th grade reading and math level. And we have math and reading programming wrapped around our programs to have our learners make sure that they are ready to be successful when they graduate from one of our programs and either matriculate or transfer to an employer or one of our college or university partners.
Jonathan, were you going to say something? I saw your eyes spark. Nope, we're good. All right. So, Mark, I asked you a question as well. When you look at this type of a model, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, no, I think it's great. I mean, it's very similar to some of the things you and I had talked about before. And really, it's, there are a lot of talented people out there in the world. Some have had, more advantages than other. And to me, it was always, I'm a big believer in finding talent and developing talent. And it was always the question of me of like, there's talented people out there that for whatever reason didn't get this access to the same sort of things as other people. And how do you first go about identifying who those people are? And then secondly, how do you kind of catch them up? And this is a perfect kind of, I think, model to catch them up to people who've had kind of access to, better educations or better support systems. And this is a great, I think, idea and model to try to help those people that maybe come from, less advantageous situations.
One of the things that I'm looking at, and we're going to get into really costs, because I know everyone wants to know, like, how much does a student
who's paying for this? Yes.
Who's paying for this, right? But one thing that I want to note is that under your courses, you also have Intro to Statistics, but Python.
Yes.
And I don't think that our listening audience really understands the value of being able to understand Python, which is a coding language. And many of our top companies that are hiring coders and programmers are saying, look, if you have the ability to utilize and to code or to program with Python, we will skip a degree. You don't need a degree if you have this skill. So it's interesting and exciting to know that Python is one of those, one of the courses that you guys are having. Let's talk a little bit about who's taking care of the bill, because I know for anybody as it relates to education, school's not for everybody. Some people don't want to go to loans. Schools don't have the money in their coffers to really pay for this. So how is this being funded?
Many ways, but before I go into that detail, I want to say something about Python and Mark's comment as well about talent. So we work with employers and we focus on a skills first model. And Python is one of those ways that we do that. Python is an early computer programming language. And so that's just an example of how we do that. And we work with employers. And we also work with other partners to pursue, to adopt a skills first, talent model. So who pays for this programming? So many partners pay for this programming. So individuals, we are a tuition based institution, but individuals do not pay the tuition. So we work with many partners, including our employer partners, workforce development, in across every state that we work in the state of Michigan, where we are, of course, that's Michigan Works. In the state of Illinois, that will be the State of Illinois Workforce Development Institution, for example. In the state of Michigan, there are new scholarships that are available that also are resources to pay for tuition. That's the Michigan Achievement Scholarship that Diversity Mobility is a part of. In addition to that, there is a new funding available that is for focusing on electric vehicles, and it's called the EV Jobs Academy, and that the state of Michigan has funding for. So there are so many different sources or resources for funding. So we don't want individuals to focus on the funding part. Focus on your career goals, the wonderful things you want to do across your career in the companies that you will work with, and that's what our mission is, to help you achieve those goals.
You know, it would be really interesting here in the Saginaw. We have something called Saginaw Promise, and I know that there are Promise scholarships across the country. But if you're in this particular area and you go to school, then your schooling is paid for. And so I think when I look at this type of an opportunity for a student who may not have 4 years in them, for a student who's not looking to do, your traditional kind of job, this may be something. When you look at what college tuition is going for, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 is only a drop in the bucket. What are you going to say?
And maybe a better way of saying it is maybe saying that it's not for them. Okay, that seems like but people that can't afford to do that. There are people that it's like, I need a job now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I can take this 4-month course, get a certification, get a valuable skill set. That's huge.
And normally I would take up residency with someone saying maybe a better way to say it, but you're absolutely right. That was a better way to say it, because we continually are dealing with folks who are, life is lifing. So they have to figure out, how do I better myself, better my family's position, without having to do, to take off and to do without, and to try to figure out how life is going to continue to move forward.
I'd be interested, Takesha, do you know if you see a lot of that kind of aspect of things with your program?
Yes. So our programs are accelerated on purpose because, like both of you were saying, everyone may not have the time, the years to contribute to pursuing higher education, or they may not be able to afford it. And so we created this model to, of course, accelerate that career opportunity, but also to make higher education more affordable. So let's say you do want to go on to college, post your graduation here at Diversity Mobility, and post your credential, and while you're working, then you can do that with college credits already in hand, and also with college scholarships. So that makes that degree that you are pursuing more affordable and a shorter time to accomplish that goal.
Do you help students find employment, or is it primarily with this corporate sponsors?
That's right. We help find the employment. Again, that strong, the highest mission and goal we have, the one that stands out the most, is that career and economic mobility. And so we ensure we have to have career opportunities accessible for our learners prior to they graduate. That is our goal. And so we work closely with employers to make sure that we understand what those employer needs are in a very strategic and whole way. And so that succession planning and employment talent acquisition planning can happen early on in our relationship with employer partners so that our graduates have those career opportunities before they graduate. Our graduation rate at Diverse Note Mobility is 98%, and our job placement or career placement rate is also 98%.
And are typically most of the jobs with the corporate sponsors? Is that typically where you're placing students?
We place students with a little over 100 employers that we work with.
Okay.
And most of those are corporate sponsors in some way.
A lot of it seems to be in like computer systems, computer programming. Is that typically what most of the programs are around?
Well, Mark, really quick to Keisha. Mark, now you're tapping into something that I thought was really cool, because I asked her the question when we first sat down, can we tailor the types of offerings that you guys have to meet the demands? Because we understand that the medical diamond is a very real thing. We understand that silicone chips being produced here is a very real thing. We understand that the opportunity for electric batteries and things, these are all things that are a part of the conversation on this new population and this new platform for employment. And as we were having that conversation, Takesha, what was your answer?
That we have all of our curriculum is a foundational curriculum and provides the credentials that from the credential partners that I mentioned before, and there are many credentials, but we strategically work with our employer partners to understand what their particular hiring needs are, and we customize programming according to what those hiring needs are. So when our learners graduate, and go over, transfer to an employer, they are ready for that particular position that they have applied, interviewed, and have been hired for.
So the employers kind of help you develop the program that they're going to be happy with, it sounds like.
That they are going to be, to develop the skills and the talent that they want to be able to hire for.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Mark, I provided us with some of the, I'm seeing what you're saying. Some of those jobs that I gave you are particularly directed towards more technical things, because that's one of the things. But they also, in terms of medical, we've met with your dear friend, Beth Charlton over at Covenant Healthcare, Dr. Duggan over at Ascension, and we were talking about pathways into some of these entry medical jobs that will be created with the medical diamond. And that is something that is going to be a possibility. Takesha, I would like us, go ahead if you're going to say something.
Yes, thanks. In reference to those industries, so they are all most or the majority of our programs are technology based, but they go across, or they're applicable across every single employer. So healthcare systems need technology talent. Labs, medical labs or technology labs need technology talent. Automotive companies need technology talent as well. And then we also do have some medical program, which are lab technology, lab mechanical based as well. But again, the programs are specific, strategically designed around employer needs. So just wanted to add that.
I want to include a conversation, because as we look at Diverse Note, it's not just education. You're really looking at wraparound services for people that are involved. Let's talk about housing. Let's talk about healthcare. Childcare and things of that nature. Why don't you share a little bit about how you guys are solving those issues that often find their way into the workplace?
Absolutely. So with, again, that focus on career and economic mobility, many of our community members have a need for housing, have a need for childcare, have a need for transportation, and many other services, what we call resources at Diverse Note, and what is also called wraparound services. And so we provide with this new partnership that we have in the Saginaw Bay area. And the particular specific name of our partnership is the Diverse Note Economic Mobility Partnership Project, or DEMP Saginaw, DEMP Saginaw. That includes our accelerated programs, our employer partnerships and relationships, but that also includes housing, and that's family housing. So we are a post-secondary institution, but our housing is more non-traditional student housing. It's for the entire family. Many of our learners have children, so it's student, family, and community-based housing that includes childcare, career services, additional wraparound services, that tutoring, those drop-in events that we will have open to community at large that talks about STEM, all things that are STEM related, particular employer, employer opportunities that are coming up within the region as well. So it'll be a entire host of wraparound services that will increase the community and communities overall.
What do you say to an employer that is like, that's on the fence about whether or not they should get involved? What are some things that you think that you would really like to give them as takeaways from this conversation?
A couple of takeaways. First, that of course employers need ready, trained, and skilled and engaged talent. And that is the type of talent that we develop at Diversity Mobility, and that we will increase development of through this particular partnership project. So that is the most important thing, that it's ready talent. It's talent from the communities where these organizations are stationed, are placed. And so you want talent within your community that can contribute to the community in which you are headquartered, or you have offices in. In addition to that, it provides a really strong partnership in the area of holistic career management. Our strategy is to create a really strong talent pool to create career mobility and help employers track that career mobility to grow that talent pool. And then in hand, that those employer partners can have a big picture, smart data, strategic picture in reference to what talent is available. They can track what their talent needs are and have more success in meeting those talent needs at across a shorter time frame, versus today with traditional recruitment and talent acquisition, which takes much longer and is much more expensive.
I'm sure there's someone that's listening to this and they're saying, okay, we work with this particular talent agency. There's talent agencies out there that, do some basic training. They're supposed to do life skills and things of that nature. And they create a hiring pool for a company. How would you say that diverse mobility differs from that type of talent pool?
When you think of diverse mobility, don't think of a talent agency. Think of diverse mobility as you think of your relationship with a university or a college, in the college recruiters that work with you. But it's a renovated model of that college recruitment relationship when it comes to talent. So that is a broader range of talent. That's not just folks that are 21 years old that are graduated from college. It's a broader age and more developed talent, those that have higher level of work experience and life skills, because we work with high school students in reference to hiring. That's ages 18 all the way up to, as I mentioned, no age maximum, so all the way up to 200. So it's a more developed talent. But think of us as how you work with a college or university recruitment relationship and partner, and that talent will be more developed, have more life skills and more experience, better interpersonal and communication skills and things like that.
I think this is absolutely a really cool situation. I am, when you come into this process, when you're starting this process and you're implementing this process, where do you start at? I know that we've had all kinds of conversations, but if you could just explain the process to someone that might be listening,
Yes.
an employer where do we start? How do we get in? How do we even contact you to begin the process?
Absolutely. So for individuals, potential learners that are interested, visit our website, the application. All of the programs are listed on our programs page. All of our resources are listed there as well. All that is on our homepage, as well as the application to apply. And that is diversenode.mobi or diversenode.mobi for individuals that are interested. And if you are an employer or a college university partner that is interested and wants to learn more, you can also email us. We have an email address, which is team@diversenode.mobi or diversenode.mobi. And those are some of the ways to start the initial process and discussions. We will be hosting in the near future a partner, and we're hosting partner meetings and events through online meetings currently. So if you are interested in that, please email us and we will be happy to meet with you and to discuss the opportunities in more detail. But we will also be hosting a information session and enrollment event for individuals and interested participants to come and enroll and access all of the resources that we spoke of today. And that'll be happening within the near future. But again, our website is diversenode. That's MOBI, or you can email us at team@diversenode.mobi.
All right. So we thank you so very much for your time today, Takesha. I'm excited about introducing and bringing you into my community. I know that you guys also do have a presence in the greater Chicago area as well. So if people that are listening there on WJOL, please reach out and get connected as well. I want to do, before we leave, I want to give a couple announcements that I think that are very pertinent and are very important. There is going to be a town hall. I attended the last one here in Saginaw. It was an opioid crisis town hall with Saginaw CAP. There's going to be a bigger session because it was such a good turnout. They're going to have a bigger session. Opioid addiction is such a big problem. It is a public health crisis that impacts and connects so many of us together through that struggle, family and loved ones that are a part of that process. But Saginaw CAP Town Hall, it's a conversation on the opioid crisis once again. They were bringing groups out of Detroit in to assist with that population who target and professionally work in this area. That's going to be November 27th at 5 p.m. from 6:30 p.m., beginning at 6:30 p.m. at the Saginaw Community Action Center. That's 2824 Perkins Street. You can catch them online at social media platforms all over at Saginaw CAP. And then also, I want to give a shout out, a special salute to Dr. Samuel Shaheen, who will be honored with the Spirit of St. Vincent Award. Ascension St. Mary Foundation revealed that Dr. Shaheen is a 2023 recipient of the Spirit of St. Vincent Award, presented annually to a physician who has rendered long and noteworthy service to the Great Lakes Bay community. A shout out to him. And I just want to say that he's and his family have been doing amazing work in our community for such a long time. He is also the president of SSP, Shaheen Development, here in the city, which is also the proponent that is pushing and has now cemented the medical diamond. July of this year, he also donated $1 million to the STEM production to his alma mater down at Albion College, and there's a building that will be named in his honor. We want to say salute to you, Dr. Shaheen. We appreciate you for your contribution. To Takesha Lee and to Mark Bassett, we certainly appreciate you guys. I love you all. Can't wait to be doing great things here in the Saginaw community. And to my guy, John B. in the place to be, I want to say thank you for all that you're doing. And for everybody out there in the community, God bless you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Grace and peace.